Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
Hi there. Welcome inside another edition, the Bmore Baseball Podcast. I'm Jerry Coleman. He's the Orioles Hall of Famer, the 14-year MLB veteran. It's Mike Bordick. We're producing brand new content every day on our X page, our Instagram page, and our Facebook page. And you can also see us at YouTube at Bmore Sports Pod. That's where you should go, Bmore Sports Pod. When you show us evidence that you've subscribed to the podcast, you qualify for a $50 gift card, compliments of Lido Pizza. I gave one to Bordick last week, and he subscribed to the podcast, but you have to show us proof that you subscribed to Be More Sports Pod. All right, today, episode number 30, Bordy, we're going to be joined by a fellow Orioles Hall of Famer, former Orioles voice Fred Manfra. We'll also discuss this secret promotion of Mike Elias, what to make of that, and Dr. Michael Jacobs will be along to explain some of the hurdles that Felix Bautista will be facing during his long rehab. But let's bring in our featured guests. They're all sponsored by Pappas Seafood. From crab cakes to seafood classics, they'll deliver straight to your door. 4 locations in the Baltimore area, plus nationwide shipping. Order today at pappascrabcakes.com. We welcome in Orioles Hall of Famer, Baltimore's own Fred Manfra. Fred, so great to catch up with you. Thanks for taking the time. Fred, first I want to start off by asking you, how much are you following the ball club from down in Florida? Things have gotten away from the team this year after such lofty expectations. What is your interpretation of what has gone down?
Well, you don't get pitching, you don't get wins. And you saw all the injuries that occurred earlier in the season. And now they're starting to get some consistency, not a great deal, but some. And I think I saw a note from the end of May to now, they have one of the best records winning-wise in baseball. So you see when you get a guy like Kyle Bradish back and you get I was disappointed to see Zach Eflin get hurt. Trevor Rogers has been quite a great acquisition for the ball club. And when I did the 2 games down here when they played the Rays, we saw Trevor pitch, and I was very impressed with his youth. He's a pitcher. He's not a guy that's going to throw 100 miles an hour, but I kind of equate him in some ways, and Bordy might agree. Watching him and Jamie Moyer pitch, except he has much better velocity than Jamie. But
absolutely.
He moves the ball up and down, in and out, and he keeps you off balance as a hitter. And you see what that happens. You don't have to throw 100 miles an hour to be an effective pitcher in big league baseball and a winning pitcher.
Oh, I love it, Fred. That's such a great point. Trevor Rogers, former guest on the Be More Baseball Podcast, and right after he got done with this show, he went on a historic run. He's still pretty historic right now, kind of emerging as the team's ace. The starters have done a nice job. You are exactly right. It's so good to get Bradish back, Tyler Wells, another versatile arm. But how about the bullpen? Isn't that the biggest question right now? They completely got rid of their bullpen, and now they have to rebuild this thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, bullpen rebuilding seems to be, and I'm not saying it's easy, but one of the more simple things you can do in Major League Baseball. You look around, and a team like the Tampa Bay Rays, when they rebuild their bullpen, they get a lot of guys off waivers, and they use him for a year, and then it's aloha, see you later. And that's what it seems to be in baseball today. You don't have an established setup in the bullpen other than your closer and your setup guy. The rest of the guys seem to be interchangeable on their way from Norfolk to Baltimore or from whatever AAA team to the big leagues. And that seems the way Major League Baseball is working today.
Fred, I didn't want to ask. Oh, go ahead, Mike, if you had something else you wanted to add.
No, well, a follow-up on that is, Fred, I think interchangeable parts are the way of bullpens, but it seems like the ones that make it at the end have that lockdown back end. Like I said, three-headed monster.
The setup guy and your closer. And, of course, the Orioles lost their closer for this year at the end and most likely all of next year. So we'll see what happens. You just have to be able to find and ferret out that gem out of the stockpile of other arms. And it happens, and sometimes it doesn't. You take the gamble, and the more guys you sign, maybe you get lucky.
Fred, I did want to ask you, and we're going to discuss it ourselves after we finish with you, about this change with Mike Elias being promoted kind of secretly during the offseason to team president. There's not a whole bunch of team presidents, it seems, around Major League Baseball. But in essence, that's the person that reports to the owner.
Right.
It doesn't seem like much of a job change for him, except in title. And now he's no longer the GM. So I guess his first task is to find a GM.
Well, yeah, and I keep reading that and I can't remember the gentleman's name they hired from the Nationals to come over. Yeah, and there's the guy that they think may be sliding into the GM's role. But I'm sure Mike will be the primary guy that says yay or nay. And I would think the general manager will say, here's what's coming up. What do you think? And Elias will have the final decision, as he should. He's the president.
Well, absolutely. What are your thoughts on Manzolino, who's done a pretty good job, man?
A nice
Kept that
job.
team right around 500.
He's done a nice job. I just wonder how much pressure there will be on the front office to come up with, quotes, an established guy. And, there are so many guys out there who are right now bench coaches for other teams that might step right into that job and do a pretty good job, especially with the young talent there. Ryan Flaherty is a guy that I would love to see get the opportunity. Great guy, very good baseball man. And I know you have a lot of joy for him there, Bordy.
Yeah, main guy.
One of the nicest people you want to be, but also a good baseball man. Now with the Cubs doing a good job. So I would hope that he would get some consideration.
Yeah, we just had him on the podcast a few weeks ago and talked about that very topic. And it seems like whoever the Orioles go after, they're going to lean more towards the analytical side than maybe an old school manager who, doesn't feel that way about analytics.
I would think, and maybe Bordy, you can agree with this or disagree, but I would think Ryan is young enough and immersed enough in today's baseball to be able to balance the analytical side with the old baseball side.
No, absolutely, because he actually alluded to that. He talked about he's gone through the over-analytical approach and the baseball approach, and finding that kind of balance is really ultimately what it's going to be all about if you want to have success. And we've seen a lot of teams, and I think the Orioles are one of those teams that need to find that balance if they want to get over the hump and win some games in the postseason.
Definitely. When they first went into all this analytics, I was thinking to myself, I don't care about launch angle. I don't care about velo off the bat. I care about what it produces. And, I can imagine, and this is going way back, a lot of people who are listening probably don't even know the name Rod Carew. Did you think he worried about launch angle or velo off his bat? Well, he won ball games. He got hits. He had a great average. He did the job that was necessary. So that's my thought on that.
Completely agree with that. And you can throw Tony Gwynn's name in there as well.
Oh, yeah. Great. Another great hitter. Yeah.
Well, you're down there in the Tampa area. I got to ask you, what's going on with the renovations with that stadium? Because every time I drive by it, it looks like they have a ways to go. Is there a possibility that they could still be stuck outside of Tropicana Field or another stadium next year?
No, I don't think so. They're targeting for early April. And I would suspect Major League Baseball will allow them to start the season on the road if the stadium is not done. And I'm sure by the time I know the schedule is out and everything, but it will be a situation where they will be given some breathing room. And they say they are on target for a full season in 2026 at the Trop.
They had quite an advantage, though, down there at all that heat. A lot of teams struggled to play in that tropical kind of environment. But they have an advantage playing in the Trop as well, I think. I don't know that many players like going in there.
It was funny when Marlene and I would go to the Trop, or when I was broadcasting, when you'd go to the Trop and you'd talk to a starting pitcher, and they say, well, it's not the greatest ballpark, blah, 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 but I know I'm going to be pitching today. I'm not going to be have my start interrupted by a rainstorm, and I don't know how many nights it would be. You'd be sitting at the Trop, and around the fourth or fifth inning, you would see the dome light up with lightning, you'd hear the rain pelting down, and you'd say, we're still playing baseball, and we're going to get this game through. And then you'd go out to try to get back to the hotel, and you'd get soaked. But the ball game was over. You had played the baseball game, and it was 72 degrees.
Exactly.
How about Camden Yards and the fact that they moved back that left field wall and what that has produced, some of the dimension changes you've seen? I mean, you were there since the park opened.
Well, yeah, that place is still my ideal baseball park, even though they moved things and changed things around. I would sit there, and every day you'd go to the ballpark and you'd look out there and you'd say, "Wow, this is what a baseball stadium is supposed to be." The fans are close. You have a great atmosphere, especially when they're winning, and whether you have the dimensions. I know it makes it more attractive for pitchers to come to Camden Yards when you have that deeper left field. I remember David Wells and Sid Fernandez and those guys would look out there over their shoulders to left field and see left center field. Where was it, 365? And it was actually shorter than that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could see where pitchers would be more attracted to come to Baltimore as a free agent, even though they're making millions of dollars, but still they want to succeed. And I think having that deeper left field makes it a little bit easier, not easy, but easier to succeed.
No, absolutely. Did you have any other favorite parks, coming up through that kind of stuck out to you?
Yeah.
And because you saw so many transitions, I think, from stadiums throughout your career.
I always liked going to Anaheim. I thought Anaheim was always a nice ballpark, especially with the rock pile out there in left center field with the
Right.
water cascading down. That was always great. When I San Diego was a great ballpark to go to. Even though we went to it just a few times, that was a pleasure to go to. The parks I hated, you might figure, Coliseum in Oakland was one of the worst facilities. And what do you know about that?
It's so close to my heart, though, Fred. You just
I
threw
know.
a dagger.
I know, but you were the other clubhouse most of the time. But the visitors' clubhouse was terrible, especially
Bro,
when they
yeah.
would have drainage problems, and the sewage would seep up on the floor.
Oh boy.
And most ballparks have a very nice area for the media to go have a meal before the ball game. There, they would serve Colonel Sanders, and
All right. Enough Oakland A's bashing.
but no, I'm not criticizing the A's. That was a great organization.
He's right, Mike. The stadium was
And especially, I remember Ray Miller. We would go out there, and he would look out there when they put that section of stands when the Raiders came back.
Yeah.
That looks like a cruise ship sitting out there. That's terrible. And it was. That was brutal because before you had that nice view of the hills off.
Yes.
And then they had that big. It was always empty. And,
Yeah.
what do you say? But no, other ballparks always enjoyed Yankee Stadium. The old Yankee Stadium was kind of neat because even though it wasn't quite the DiMaggio type years, it was still historic to go into that ballpark and think that, boy, this is where these guys played.
Right.
And you look around Major League Baseball. There's a lot of nice ballparks to go to. Fenway Park was always the traditionalist great ballpark. I remember getting tickets for my wife, and Marlene said, "I can't even sit. I can't even move my legs sitting in the seats there because it's so close." And then you go to one of the worst places for a broadcaster, but great for a fan because of the atmosphere and the history, Wrigley Field. The broadcast booth at Wrigley Field, I think you couldn't move from shoulder to shoulder because it was so tight in there. But still, you look at the ivy out on the wall and you look out over and see those stands up on the roof and you say, wow, this is Wrigley Field. And then in the middle of the game, you'd see the wind switch and you'd look at those flags go from blowing in to blowing out. And if you're a pitcher coming in, you're saying, oh, darn, I have to pitch with this kind of wind. But you go around and you see a lot of good ballparks.
More of the Bmore Baseball podcast coming right up. At Pappas Restaurants, we've been serving up Maryland's best crab cakes for over 5 decades, and now we make it easier than ever to get your favorites. With 4 restaurants and sports bar locations across Harford County, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County, you can stop in for fresh seafood, ice-cold drinks, and wall-to-wall TVs. But if you can't make it in, don't worry. We'll bring Pappas to you. Our new state-of-the-art shipping and commissary location on Bel Air Road in Nottingham means you can pick up fresh-made meals or have our famous crab cakes and seafood shipped anywhere in the country. Dine in, pick up, or ship nationwide. However you Pappas, we've got you covered. Order now at pappascrabcakes.com. Shop Maryland's largest adult use and medical cannabis menu located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week. Only at Relief Shop.
Hello, my name is Reese Friedman, and I'm the daughter of Stephen L. Friedman and Rachel Friedman.
Hi, I'm Reese Friedman. A little bit older from the last time you saw me, but still the daughter of Stephen and Rachel Friedman and the granddaughter of Michael Friedman. Now, I'm here to tell you that the law offices of Michael Friedman are still the experts in the field of personal injury accident law. So if you or a loved one have been seriously injured in a motor vehicle accident, I do not want you to hesitate. Call us at 410-363-6848 or email us directly from our website, maflaw.com, for a free consultation. The law offices of Michael Friedman, serving the community for over 40 years.
Jerry Coleman here. I've been a client of the law offices of Michael A. Friedman for well over 25 years now. From motor vehicle accidents to other tort-related issues, 410-363-6848, or find them on their website at maflaw.com.
I'm retired now, but I was an Orioles home run. Grand slam, actually. Took a sweet ride right into the flag court, and it was awesome. Could be awesome for you, too. If you play Home Run Riches from the Maryland Lottery, you could win instantly, or be a contestant of the game and win $500 for being selected, $500 for every Orioles home run, and $5,000 for every Grand Slam. Sounds like a ball, if you ask me. Enter all season at mdlottery.com.
Well, I'm intrigued because you're wearing a Hawaiian shirt. You ever do a game from a stadium in Hawaii?
No, I played in stadiums in Hawaii when my military time was spent playing baseball for the Navy. So, I remember when we were over there, we did a Hawaii 5-0. I don't know if you remember that show.
Of course I do.
Steve McGarrett and Bookham Dano, the original. And
Jack Lord.
Jack Lord. And we did a Hawaii 5-0, and Pernell Roberts was in that show. He was a major leaguer coming down from the big leagues to play AAA in Hawaii, and he had a son who was autistic. And the story goes about the son leaving. And I remember I was the catcher, and I was supposed to say, as Pernell Roberts came to the plate, I was behind the plate, and I was supposed to say, "Well, big guy, it's good to see you back." And then they found out I hadn't joined SAG-AFTRA yet, so I couldn't say it. They had to bring somebody else in to say it.
A stunt double.
Yeah, a voice double, actually. And
millions in residuals.
Oh, yeah, right. And so anyway, I remember when I first got there, there was the Termite Palace, the ballpark that they played in, and it was truly all wood. It was like a amateur field, but that's where the AAA team played, and they used to leave Honolulu for 2.5 to 3 weeks on the road. They would come home 3 weeks, then they would go out on the road because it was much cheaper to travel that way than have people going back and forth. And Bo Belinsky, I remember when he pitched for the Hawaii Islanders, and his wife was Joe Collins. I don't know if you remember that name. Bordy, you're not as old as I am, but she was a Playboy playmate.
Hey, easy now.
And when she would make her entrance into the ballpark, it was always either in the middle of the first or middle of the second. It was hilarious to watch the whole stadium. The eyes always turned on her and watched the dugouts. Both dugouts rose, looked up over the top of the dugout to see her walking down the steps behind home plate. Chuck Tanner was the manager at the time for the Islanders, and it was a great time. I loved living in Hawaii, and I hope to get back before many years for sure.
Wow, that story reminds me now. It's part of a trivia question. It's two former Oriole broadcasters who have been on Hawaii 5-0. Didn't Mel Proctor make an appearance as well?
Yes, he did. Yeah, well, Mel, for a long time was the sportscaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have something in common. I last I heard, Mel was in San Diego. I don't know. Maybe he
still is. Yeah.
Broadcaster, very good broadcaster.
Fred, you and I were colleagues before, obviously with the Orioles radio, and I understand you were colleagues with Coleman too. You got any stories of back in the
colleague
with Coleman? You remember anything?
Not a colleague. The real dirt on Jerry Coleman.
Whatever you got, brother. Whatever
hard
you
worker,
got.
I'll tell you that. Now, when I was with ABC, we broadcast the Triple Crown, Kentucky Derby, Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes. And Jerry, when we would come to Baltimore, was our tape shagger. We would come in and he would collect tape from the trainers or the jockeys, and we would utilize that in our shows prior to the broadcast of the Preakness. And when I was at ABC, I also did the NBA. and Jerry helped us out in the NBA several times. So it was an association that goes a long way back, because my first Kentucky Derby was 1984 or 1983.
Wow.
And Jerry was just out of the cradle then. He was walking, and he had this little tape recorder in his hand, and he would go around putting that tape recorder in front of the mouths of the luminaries at the race.
Love
Well,
it.
my favorite story was the part that he omitted. I was also a runner, because back in the day when Pimlico was still the way it was and now under renovations, they would have a betting window in the press box. And Fred was working with the late, great Don Chevrier, and they had placed some wagers on a race that was coming up. I don't even think it was the
I never bet on the races. Don did.
Don did.
Johnson did.
Just for the record, it was Don's bet. But along with the bet slip or the name of the horse, I took the script with me for the Preakness, basically the rundown. This is before the internet, before a lot of technology.
It wasn't
So
on.
imagine getting ready for a national broadcast and not knowing where the script is. It was being held by that intern runner who's standing in line at the betting window.
Oh,
Right,
boy.
right. Yeah, well, we had many hilarious events that occurred during our broadcast that we can't tell about. But
Right.
I remember one day we were in Detroit, and Chuck Thompson. I had the great pleasure of working with Chuck Thompson and Dr. Paul Eichholz, who was a tremendous guy and was always doing our engineering. Chuck came up with a term about clouds, puffy white clouds, meaning something. And during the broadcast, Chuck said, and as we sit here at Tiger Stadium, these puffy white clouds came out over the roof of the stadium. And Paul looked forward, and as he looked forward, he fell out of his seat. And we heard a big crash and tumble behind us, and there was Paul on the floor behind us.
Oh, boy.
Cordy, did you ever play at Tiger Stadium?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was an interesting place too, because you
Yeah,
could,
it was.
and the broadcast booth was right above the batter or the on deck circle.
It
And
was like right there.
Every word
Unbelievable.
going
Yeah.
on between the batter and the umpire, and some of
Everything.
those were very entertaining to hear.
I think I heard an announcer one time when I was a young player say, Bordick swinging a Sporting News up there right now. I was at like 180, and I could literally hear the announcer. I was like, wow, I'm going that good. Oh, my
Well,
God.
you talk about that. I remember the day at Oriole Park, Camden Yards, when there was not there were no fans in the ballpark. Orioles playing the White Sox that game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And after the ball game, we went down into Buck Showalter's office, and he said, I heard every word you guys were saying. He said, I hope it was all good. And he kind of laughed. He said, yeah, it was okay.
True story. I was there. You could hear everything. There wasn't much.
It was amazing. It was weird just looking out on the field, seeing the players, and then look around Camden Yards, nothing but seats. It was strange.
Fred,
You know,
you've
you
experienced so much, in your incredible career. And I love, I know you as a radio guy for the Orioles, Hall of Fame announcer, such a smooth voice, and just communicated the game so well. And people obviously love you around here, and they probably know more about your history than I did, but I didn't realize that. And I guess I kind of did because I work with Gary Thorne a little bit. As a broadcaster, you cover all sports. I didn't realize you went out west as a young guy. You covered the Olympics, the NBA. What an amazing career you've had as a broadcaster, and experiences all over the world.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I don't know if it's still the same way with young broadcasters, but it was like minor league baseball as you went through, where you started in D-ball. And then you worked your way. I worked my way from Corona, California to Ventura, California. From Ventura, California, went to Iowa to do University of Iowa football and basketball. Then went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Then to Washington, D.C. And then to Detroit, where I did University of Michigan football and basketball. And then the opportunity to go to New York and to do what I did, Olympics, NBA, NHL. It was a sports fan's dream. And I always say, I never worked a day in my life because it's always something I love to do.
Yeah.
Well, to Mike's point, I don't know how many announcers can say they've gotten opportunities to work with both John Miller and Chuck Thompson.
Well, it was great. Yeah, you work with two of the best. And of course, growing up with Chuck, it was always amazing in Baltimore as a youngster on Sunday afternoons, especially October, November. We would be out in the back alley of my house in East Baltimore off Kane Street. And especially in the early October days when it was still fairly warm and before a lot of homes had air conditioning, people had their windows up and you could hear Chuck, Unitas, DeBerry, touchdown Colts. Oh, and you could just hear it echoing throughout the neighborhood. And when I heard that, and I said to myself, boy, I want to do that someday. And then I loved Gus Triandos as the Oriole catcher. I said, I either want to play for the Orioles or broadcast for the Orioles. I didn't get the opportunity to play for the Orioles, but I lived the dream of broadcasting for the team I liked.
Awesome.
Amazing. Hey, we just had Brian Roberts on last week, and this was before he inferred that Blue Jays fans had a low baseball IQ. I know you've never probably said anything like that about a fan base, like I crush Buffalo, but man, I mean, how do you avoid those kind of things? Sometimes, you're on a hot mic.
Especially today, because when I started out, you didn't have the internet that was balancing and criticizing, reviewing every word you said during the course of a broadcast. So, I always learned that you have to think before you put your mouth in gear. And I'm not criticizing Brian because I thought that many a times why people boo when a pitcher throws over to first base with a runner at first base makes no sense to me. But, they boo and they're paying their ticket. They can do what they want. Same way with a wave. Why do people do a wave in the middle of an inning and you see them going around the ballpark? But, I always learned to think, then put my mouth in gear. Sometimes if you let the words flow, you can get yourself in trouble. And that's just the way my philosophy was. I tried not to bury myself.
Like
Oh,
that.
Terry,
Yeah, thank you for throwing that in there, Chip.
that was really great.
Well, I'm pretty infamous in Buffalo after calling them a city of losers.
Are you going to be there for the new stadium opening? I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll welcome you with open
We have
arms.
a new scoreboard, hopefully a better looking picture. Last thing I wanted to bring to your attention, because Mike and I are going to discuss this after we're done, but the Mets just completed an old timers game they had over the weekend. The Yankees have been infamous for doing this for years. I don't know if it's stopped recently, but what about the concept with the Orioles? Because
That would be great.
there's a talent pool out there. We got a guy sitting next to us who could do it.
He could still probably pick it at shortstop. That's for sure.
Might be able to catch it. Can't make that throw though, Fred.
But yeah, you have a great cadre of players that meant so much to the city and meant so much to the franchise. Why not bring them in for a game once a year? I remember, I forget what year it was, but the Orioles brought in the 1983 Phillies and the 1983 Orioles.
Yes.
It was such a wonderful weekend, and that was the weekend that Demper hit the home run into the left field stands in this game that they were playing. I think it was a home run derby. Darren Dalton was in there, and all these guys from the Phils, and Demper won the thing with a home run. But
MVP, baby.
And I'm sure Demper would love to get back on the field, and even just having Boog come out on the field when he comes out there, the response from the fans is just so great. You have Adam that would come back and play. I saw Mike Devereaux when the Orioles were in town. Devo always comes to the games. You've got such a great. Brady Anderson would be great. These guys and Brady would probably be taking BP.
Oh, no doubt.
So he could wrap one out of there.
Yeah.
But you've got enough of guys that would be able to come and contribute and make it a fun day.
Absolutely agree with that. Hopefully it's in the works for next season. I remember what you were talking about because that was at Memorial Stadium. It was that long ago. Fred, be well.
Hey, guys, thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
Appreciate it anytime.
The great Fred Manfra, fellow Orioles Hall of Famer, fellow partner, former partner of yours. Be great to have a reuniting situation in the booth one of these days.
More of the Bmore Baseball Podcast coming right up. It's saving season at Lido Pizza. 99-cent refreshing iced teas for spring and summer. Or $6 calzones every Tuesday. There are tons of new deals and rewards for everyone. Exclusively at LidoPizza.com or on the Lido Pizza app. Lido Pizza, a local legend since 1955. Proud partner of the Baltimore Orioles.
In a city where passion runs deep, on the stage and on the field, Baltimore knows how to bring the heat. Whether it's a game-winning home run or a breathtaking violin solo, this town plays to win. The Baltimore Chamber Orchestra champions the creative soul of our city with bold performances of classically captivating music. Join the team that brings precision, power, and heart to every performance. Learn more and get your season tickets now at thebco.org.
They say it all comes back to your roots, right? At Grassroots, high-quality cannabis is in their nature. From soil to soul, their passion for cannabis and community inspires everything they do. Try your favorite strains from their cultivar library of top-shelf flower, pre-rolls, and concentrates. Whether you're cheering from the stands or chanting for the O's at home, their crafted flower helps you curate the perfect game day. Ask for Grassroots Cannabis at your favorite dispensary in Maryland. Everyone knows Greenmount Station in Hampstead, but did you know that at Greenmount Station you can bet 7 days a week just like you're at the track? With in-person teller windows and state-of-the-art touchscreen kiosks. And with Greenmount Station's brand new Bet Park Sportsbook, you can bet on all other sports as well, wherever you are in Maryland. Spreads, money lines, live bets, props, parlays, and teasers. The Bet Parks Maryland mobile app is now live for Apple and Android devices, so you'll never miss your next big score. Just search for Bet Parks MD in the Apple App Store or on Google Play. 21 and over only. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time.
All right, let's move on to For the Birds. It's sponsored by the Maryland Lottery. Playing the Maryland Lottery responsibly means knowing what's true and what's not about your favorite games. Learn the facts and the myths by going to mdlottery.com. That's mdlottery.com. And as always, please play responsibly. Bordick, Mike Elias sent no announcement out about this promotion. It was Ken Rosenthal and Brittany Giroli, who don't even work in Baltimore on a regular basis. I have friends that are Orioles beat reporters. Anyone who covers this team, that has to be embarrassing because this is your job covering this team daily. Although if it's kept as a complete state secret that the former executive VP and GM has been promoted and the team still hasn't put it out on their website or a press release or held a press conference, I can understand where the beat writers are coming from. But this is an odd situation to me.
It is a little bit odd, but I think Giroli and Rosenthal both have their inside. They both covered the Orioles back in the day, so they still have like maybe some old microphones up in the warehouse where they're getting their inside information. Yeah, I think it's a little surprising. I mean, come on, a little bit more transparency. Let the fans, involved in all this. You're still the top guy, right? Mike Elias, just a different title. Probably the same exact responsibilities, the ultimate authority at the top. But now when they ultimately hire a GM, he can fire the GM. So a little bit of his responsibility, I think, is pulled away from what was created, especially this season. So this kind of leads us, Stephen, how are the Orioles going to be able to decipher everything they need over 3 months of an offseason to prepare for a championship season in 2026? They need a GM. They need a bullpen. They need some starters. They need a manager. And who else? Because if they do indeed get a new manager, that new manager probably wants a whole new coaching staff too. So there are a lot of things out there that need to be done this offseason for the Orioles. But now we finally know that at least Mike Elias is at the top of baseball operations.
Yeah, also on that list of things to do is find some more reliable starting pitching and fix the bullpen, as you mentioned to Fred Manfra.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there is a ton to do. And Manfra, alluded to the fact that sometimes putting bullpens together is easy. Okay, I agree there. You still have to work through the parts of what guy has got the cojones to finish up the back end of a ball game. And the Orioles are trying to do that every night, figure out who has enough, to finish out a game. And they have not found anybody in-house yet. There isn't a guy that I trust in the 8th inning or the 7th. And it's those guys, the big hairy dudes at the back end that you can really count on to close the game out. Those are the guys the Orioles, I think, are going to have a hard time finding.
Yeah. Hopefully we get some sort of explanation before the season's over. If not, right when the season's over, I anticipate a news conference clarifying where everyone stands in the organization, because I don't understand the logic in keeping this a state secret. I don't know what benefit there is to the ball club.
Well, absolutely no benefit. All it does is bring up more speculation and us to guess and understand what are they trying to, why are they keeping this from us? Why can't they let it be out in front, And so we feel like more of a part of the organization. There's a lot of interesting pieces now because, what about Sig Mejdal? What about Eve Rosenbaum, who was the assistant GM and the assistant vice president? So, there are a lot of moving parts. Could Sig Mejdal end up being the GM to keep everything in-house? Could Manzolino stay as the manager and keep everything in-house? I mean, these are the questions that I guess we're going to find out this offseason. And truly, is this going to be just too much for this organization to handle this offseason?
Yeah, and thank goodness we have several more episodes of this podcast to dissect all that's going to be going on in the offseason, because it is going to be interesting times once we get to the end of the regular season. All right, we're getting to Beyond Baltimore, our outside look at the world of baseball. It's brought to you by Relief Shop, Baltimore's best adult use for medical cannabis, with 700 plus unique menu items and home delivery available always for medical patients, courtesy of Relief Shop. They are located right there on Cathedral Street. So we just talked about this with Fred Manfra, and I want to get more into this. The concept of an alumni game, an old-timers game, as the Yankees used to call it. They don't hold them on a regular basis anymore. I think they were upset the last time Jeter didn't want to participate. But to me, it's a no-brainer. The Mets just did it. For some reason, they omitted you, even though you were there for a very memorable 3-month stay. But this is something that should come to fruition in Birdland as early as next season.
Yeah, I can't believe it hasn't happened. I mean, it's such a special opportunity for the Orioles to bring that link back, with the past. I mean, the Orioles have just a storied history with world championships, legends of the game, some of the greatest baseball players ever right here in Baltimore. And I'm talking guys like Boog Powell, of course, Rick Dempsey, Rookie of the Year, and Al Bunbury, Singleton. I mean, what a beast these guys. Singleton was when he played. But these guys are legendary players that we can't forget about. We just celebrated Cal's 21-31 and got to see Brady and BJ, Bobby Bowe back there. It would be so cool to see these guys take the field, move around, tell stories. Listen, the Mets did it right. They made a day of it. They did interviews on the field, catching up with old-time guys and stuff. It's so much fun, and I think fans truly appreciate that. This is what baseball is all about. You got to have that link with the past to know what's going on in the game, and I think Oriole fans really appreciate their tradition.
And history sells. You're right. I mean, we saw what happened with the Cal Ripken Jr. 30-year celebration, all the iconic players that came back. Eddie seemed to love the limelight. Brady Anderson, Rafael Palmeiro, as you mentioned. I mean, Adam can still play. J.J. Hardy can still play. You can still play. Markakis, Wieters. There's a large talent pool out there where you probably need about 30, 35 guys, maybe play 3 innings. That is something that would attract a nice-sized crowd to the yard.
Oh, I think it would get the biggest crowd, because I'm not saying it's going to be Savannah Bananas kind of spectacular, but think of the generations that have been covered here with Oriole fans. And listen, I got to cover, J.J. Hardy and Adam Jones. I love those guys. And to bring those guys back in that era when Buck Showalter sparked them back into playoff baseball. And in 96 and 97, I think the fans really appreciated that before the Orioles went into the dark ages. So guys like Brady and BJ and Cal, I mean, so many special players. But of course, what really set the standard for the Orioles, the tradition of the players like we talked about, Boog Powell and Singleton and all those great legendary players. Bring those guys back, and you would cover so many historic generations that I think Baltimore really loves, man. And you could do so many things over a weekend, have lunches and just people meeting the players again. And I think it would be huge for the city.
Definitely would move the needle in Birdland. All right. I don't know if they're going to bring back Dr. Michael Jacobs to treat all the injuries that occur in that 3-inning game. But a man who did treat a number of those players while they were active is next always. What's up, Doc? And it's sponsored by the law offices of Michael A. Friedman, my personal attorneys for over 25 years. There's always a live person when you call the law offices of Michael A. Friedman. Their number, 410-363-6848. The law offices of Michael A. Friedman, Baltimore's best. All right, Doc, welcome in. And, I don't know if you have a comment about an old-timers game and how that may go and how busy you may be if they decide to hold something like that.
Well, they should have an old-timers Docs game, so that would include me.
Oh.
And look, it would be great. More than any town, I think, in the country, the blue-collar Baltimore mentality extends to the players. They're part of the community. They do hitting coaches, as you know, Sheets, Mike. They run clinics. The old Colts, John Unitas lived on Legend Hill, where he built a house in Timonium. John was in a country club I was in. I mean, you'd go to the local bar and see one of those guys, and it would be huge. And Bunbury's here. His kid's son went to school at Delaney. It would be fantastic. And the Manfras are a perfect example. Fred, the Manfras, Marlene are just fantastic people. And Fred is the best of Baltimore. He's from Patterson Park. He grew up there. His kids he and his sisters went to Catholic school there, and they have great stories about that. And I think one was thrown out, actually. But
no, we won't get into that. All right.
Yeah, but it was a fantastic thing. And I saw Chuck Thompson as a patient, and I can tell you, just talking to him and hearing his voice answer questions was like listening to a God talk to me, because that's just how Chuck talked.
And then
so I think it would be a moneymaker for the Orioles. It would be a packed house.
Yeah,
so I think that would be great. And I think Brady could probably play in the real game. He'd probably want to take a few swings. What do you think, Mike?
Definitely. Look that way. Yeah. That way. All right, let's get to the heart of the matter. Doc, what do you think about the future and what it may hold for one Felix Bautista? Because now the Orioles closer faces the reality that he's not going to pitch probably until 2027, when his contract expires.
Well, it's a very sad situation. The Orioles, as I think I've said earlier, are typically very transparent.
Yes, you said that.
And they are very mysterious about Felix. They mentioned a severe rotator cuff injury. Then they mentioned that his labrum and the rest of his shoulder is not right. And I personally think he's finished as a pitcher. No pitcher has really ever come back from a full thickness cuff tear and pitched successfully, let alone a pure power pitcher. Similarly, to have that kind of velocity, most pitchers have a lot of laxity in their shoulders that allow them to get the leverage they need. And there's a point where that gets so lax in the front of your shoulder that your shoulder starts sliding out of joint. And I think I also mentioned this. Brett Saberhagen, who was a power pitcher, came up in the mid-'80s, 85, I think. In the mid-'90s, his shoulder got so loose he couldn't pitch. And the late Dr. Olczyk took him out for 2 years and tried to tighten the front of his shoulder. And Brett Saberhagen was a high IQ baseball player. And he kind of scrambled through a year and a half after sitting out 2 years, taking a lot of time off, but then he was done. So I think the combination of what is probably a torn labrum that's significant with a loose shoulder and a serious, if not complete, cuff tear, and a 33-year-old pitcher, who with the information we have, I would think his future is not good.
That is bad to hear. Let me ask you this real quickly as a follow-up. If you told him that he was done as a pitcher, how many other second or third or fifth opinions would he probably seek?
Things have changed. I always use second opinions. which is why the players loved me in Baltimore. They knew I wasn't trying to make my career operating on them. In fact, I sent Mike down to Dr. Andrews for his shoulder. And right now, it's been distilled to Dr. Meister, who is kind of Mr. Elbow, and Dr. Elatrash out in LA. So I think most players just hit those two spots as guided by their agents. The Mets doc, who I mentioned earlier, just passed away, which was regrettable. He was not that old, but died of a brain tumor. So now that he's out of that loop, those are most of the guys people go to. So I think he'll just make two loops, and I suspect he's been to both of them already. If I'm not mistaken, I think Elatrash did his surgery, but I'm sure it was Elatrash or Meister. But it's kind of been distilled to two docs. If everybody's on the same page, there's not much you can do. That is what it is.
All right.
I think you see that with Joe Burrow's foot. Dr. Anderson is the foot doc for the NFL, and he's universally respected. And they went out there. He said, you need surgery, and I think they scheduled it. So, there are some preeminent guys out there, and Elatrash and Meister have kind of become the new Doc Hollywoods. And they're obviously excellent doctors and know what they're doing. So there's no reason to go further.
There he is, Dr. Michael Jacobs, courtesy of the law offices of Michael A. Friedman. We want to thank the law offices of Michael A. Friedman and all our sponsors, including Pappas Seafood, which is where Fred Manfra prefers his crab cakes.
At Pappas Restaurants, we've been serving up Maryland's best crab cakes for over 5 decades, and now we make it easier than ever to get your favorites. With 4 restaurants and sports bar locations across Harford County, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County, you can stop in for fresh seafood, ice-cold drinks, and wall-to-wall TVs. But if you can't make it in, don't worry. We'll bring Pappas to you. Our new state-of-the-art shipping and commissary location on Bel Air Road in Nottingham means you can pick up fresh-made meals or have our famous crab cakes and seafood shipped anywhere in the country. Dine in, pick up, or ship nationwide. However you Pappas, we've got you covered. Order now at pappascrabcakes.com. They say it all comes back to your roots, right? At Grassroots, high-quality cannabis is in their nature. From soil to soul, their passion for cannabis and community inspires everything they do. Try your favorite strains from their cultivar library of top-shelf flower, pre-rolls, and concentrates. Whether you're cheering from the stands or chanting for the O's at home, their crafted flower helps you curate the perfect game day. Ask for Grassroots Cannabis at your favorite dispensary in Maryland.
Hello, my name is Reese Friedman, and I'm the daughter of Stephen L. Friedman and Rachel Friedman.
Hi, I'm Reese Friedman. A little bit older from the last time you saw me, but still the daughter of Stephen and Rachel Friedman and the granddaughter of Michael Friedman. Now, I'm here to tell you that the law offices of Michael Friedman are still the experts in the field of personal injury accident law. So if you or a loved one have been seriously injured in a motor vehicle accident, I do not want you to hesitate. Call us at 410-363-6848 or email us directly from our website, maflaw.com, for a free consultation. The law offices of Michael Friedman, serving the community for over 40 years.
Jerry Coleman here. I've been a client of the law offices of Michael A. Friedman for well over 25 years now. From motor vehicle accidents to other tort-related issues, 410-363-6848, or find them on their website at maflaw.com.
In a city where passion runs deep, on the stage and on the field, Baltimore knows how to bring the heat. Whether it's a game-winning home run or a breathtaking violin solo, this town plays to win. The Baltimore Chamber Orchestra champions the creative soul of our city with bold performances of classically captivating music. Join the team that brings precision, power, and heart to every performance. Learn more and get your season tickets now at thebco.org.
I'm retired now, but I was an Orioles home run. Grand slam, actually. Took a sweet ride right into the flag court, and it was awesome. Could be awesome for you, too. If you play Home Run Riches from the Maryland Lottery, you could win instantly, or be a contestant of the game and win $500 for being selected, $500 for every Orioles home run, and $5,000 for every grand slam. Sounds like a ball, if you ask me. Enter all season at mdlottery.com.
It's saving season at Lido Pizza. 99-cent refreshing iced teas for spring and summer, or $6 calzones every Tuesday. There are tons of new deals and rewards for everyone, exclusively at LidoPizza.com or on the Lido Pizza app. Lido Pizza, a local legend since 1955, proud partner of the Baltimore Orioles. Everyone knows Greenmount Station in Hampstead, but did you know that at Greenmount Station you can bet 7 days a week just like you're at the track? With in-person teller windows and state-of-the-art touchscreen kiosks. And with Greenmount Station's brand new Bet Park Sportsbook, you can bet on all other sports as well, wherever you are in Maryland. Spreads, money lines, live bets, props, parlays, and teasers. The Bet Parks Maryland mobile app is now live for Apple and Android devices, so you'll never miss your next big score. Just search for Bet Parks MD in the Apple App Store or on Google Play. 21 and over only. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Shop Maryland's largest adult use and medical cannabis menu located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week. Only at Relief Shop.
Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time.
Thanks to senior executive producer Chip Franklin for putting this latest episode together. That's what he wrote out there for me. Also, until next week, be kind, be real, and make sure to be back next week for another episode. We're winding down, at least the Orioles regular season is, not this podcast, here on the Bmore Baseball Podcast. See ya.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.